various things. And this is what it looks like on a graph. And you see that there is an optimum. And that optimum corresponds to the Greek golden mean. Aristotle said nothing, not too much, not too little, just enough. So if you're trying to get by with too little, which is disuse, which is the left side of this, that's bad. But there's also too much energy, and that's stress. How many RPMs go through this carcass? So there has to be the appropriate number. And here's the Greek golden mean, and it transcribes exactly to health. Health exists at the... Now there's a new term, and I think very few of us know this term, but I learned it 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. I had a guy by the name of Jared Diamond come up to speak at my group. Jared wrote a great book, Guns, Germs, and Steel, and he's a UCLA type. And whenever I have a guest, I always kind of look up what they've been up to, and I looked on PubMed, and Jared Diamond had written an article about simorphosis. I said, holy God, what an ugly word that is. But simorphosis says that whenever you have a process of multiple stages, like oxygen delivery, like caloric, every single step in that transport system must quantify precisely. If it didn't, then there would be a bottleneck. But as we're moving oxygen from there to our mitochondria, every step, heart, vascular, membrane, mitochondria, they're all precisely quantified. Scaling is the word. So recognizing this whole domain of exercise and fitness on function, I wrote this subsequent to my disuse and aging paper, published this in JAMA, I think, which says most of what we think of is not external factors, but it's a failure to harmonize, to exploit our natural homeodynamic stuff. So cardiovascular vulnerability, is that cholesterol? Is that hot? Yeah. But more importantly, it's the failure to mobilize our energetic flow on all our tissues. Metabolic instability, we have type 2 diabetes, which is clearly disuse. Musculoskeletal fragility, frailty. Immunologic susceptibility, I was very hesitant early in my career to say that exercise was good for Alzheimer's. And now it is, we know it. The first thing you do at Stanford Neurology, if you come in with Alzheimer's, you get them exercise. Why? Because we just found this compound called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is a growth factor out of the hypothalamus that goes up. With exercise, it's miracle growth for the brain. That makes the little brain cells sprout as a result of exercise. Come on. And precocious aging. So all of this then conforms itself to, in my overstated fashion, to a new field, a physical field, and I reported this in my talk in Dublin. I claim that this metabolic field, this incredible cross-talk that's going on that has to do with our structure and function, qualifies for a place in our firmament that is equal to gravity and electromagnetism, but it has not had a metaphor to gratify it. So this is a paper I'm trying to get published right now on a metabolic field. Now this is Steve Blair's stuff. You've seen this before. This is my 30-year age offset. A fit person of 70 has the same VO2 max. Having nothing to do with your genes, having nothing to do with doctors or pills, simply how you express your genes. And this is the critical subsequent slide for that. This shows that when you're young, you don't have to exercise. When you're old, you damn well better. And that stands to reason. This is mortality. You don't die of lack of fitness when you're 30 and 40. You die of fitness when you're 70 and 80. So Bortz's law says It's never too late to start, but always too soon to stop. So there's no expiration date to the exhortation to stay physically active. Never too late. Now this is the actuality of what we're talking. This is an article that is in my papers. I think I cut this out when I was in medical school 60 years ago. JAMA, Paul Dudley White, first author. This was the autopsy of Clarence DeMar, who won the Boston Marathon 3 or 4 or 5, and ran it 40 or 50 times. He's a hero to us marathoners. And he died of a colon cancer or something, and Paul Dudley White said, I want to see your arteries, fella. There they are. Like a garden hose. And this then kind of sat fallow. Nobody paid much attention to this. I did. So we're involved in this 100-mile race from Squaw Valley to Auburn. The marathon's quite trivial. This starts under the chairlift at Squaw Valley, goes up and down over the mountains, ends up 100 miles by footpath, straight. And we give the prizes to the oldest finishers every year. And these people are the fittest people in the world, I guess, like Tour de France riders. So I said, okay, let's see whether Paul Dudley White was right about DeMar's arteries. So we did coronary arteriograms on these guys who run 100 miles. And I reflect you there to the difference in flow of sedentary people and fit people. 6 times the flow. So I translate this to my own personal health habits, because I don't give a damn what my cholesterol is, because my artery's 1.5 inches across. So it's got lots more room to accommodate cholesterol in there, because I have a big artery. Now the truth is that we in medicine don't like big arteries, because there's no money in it. We like little arteries, because we can graft you and stent you. And I heard that half of America is on Lipitor. Oh, is that embarrassing? We know we don't need Lipitor, we need this. Now these are, I have a little running group in Palo Alto that we've been following for 40 years, and Jim Freeze has written them. These are our mortality data. So this is not kind of casual stuff. We live longer, and our brains are better, because our brain is a muscle. It behaves exactly the same. An enriched brain, a brain with other animals with a running, keeps putting on dendrites, and finally you get to wisdom, the final arborization of the brain cell, if you're fit. Now, Paul Bortz said, not all people get wise, but all wise people are old. Because it takes time to bring this out. So here's back to my friend Glenn Hayflick, who said, now we know enough what aging is, and as we do, we also know what health is. I was on CNN a few years ago. I was on national television beating my chest about being active and how we could die healthy at 100, which I believe. And I thought I was doing an equitable job, and after my monologue was over, the hostess took the mic and gave it to Tilly in the front row and said, Tilly, what do you think of what the doctor just said? She said, I don't believe a word he said. Said these doctors are so full of puff, they think they're so goddamn smart. Have you ever met an old doctor? All old doctors are dead, she said. She said, every time I feel like taking a walk, I lie down. And I love fat, and she showed exuberant evidence of that. So she had great fun puncturing this pompous professor from Stanford. So the whole audience was just, give it to him, Doc, you got him, you got it, give it to him. So the hostess turned and said, Dr. Bortz, what do you say to that? And I'm on camera with my mouth, and what do I say to just getting your pants drawn down on national television? And I then told Willie, what do I say about that? And I said, well, you know, as an American, I must respect the right of anybody to say whatever they want, but I immediately identify that rights come from responsibilities, and when you're not responsible, you forfeit the right. What did I just say on national television? You forfeit the right? Yes. So I have since husbanded that comment, and I'm very proud of it. Because we can no longer keep just deferring and deferring. We must stand up, and the difference between rights and responsibility is knowledge. Ben Franklin says, how can you hold a newborn responsible? You can't. But as we age, as we come along, as time matures us, we become increasingly knowledgeable and ergo, increasingly responsible. So in what culture do we live? What is our society? Is it an irresponsible society? Or is it responsible? And that's where we are, and that's what these wonderful people are doing. They're arming us to be responsible with knowledge. And I'm 84, and I have as my unfulfilled ambition to rid the world of health illiteracy. Health illiteracy is what kills us. I write a blog for Huffington every week, called Dare to be 100. And a few months ago, I wrote one that Steve Jobs didn't die of cancer of the pancreas. It's on his death certificate. He died of health illiteracy because he knew he had a pancreatic lesion, and he kind of fiddled. Einstein died of a ruptured aneurysm because he knew he had it and we could have fixed it. So most people are dying prematurely of things we can do something about, if we but muster our courage and competence to address them. So that's the message that I bring you as kind of a West Coast geriatrician. I don't think you have a chance to pick on us very often. But I appreciate very much, Eddie, and you all asking me to be here with you, because I love what you're doing and wish you Godspeed the rest of the way. Thank you for your attention.
Any questions for Dr. Bortz?
I have a prescription for Viagra here if anybody wants.